And some universities will even give you admits before December, and if they do, you ideally will also have a scholarship. The hard part sometimes is that some consultancies will have partnership with universities, and they will recommend you to go there because they make money off of you.
I got admits from TAMU, ASU, UMBC, and CMU. I want to talk about my second blunder that I made. I did all of these things, and the one main thing that I had to do was get a housing. And I was like, Shakid, I'll just go there and find a housing because how bad could it be?
To book the classes. It's horrible at ASU because you are paying this $50,000 and yet you don't even get to attend the class that you want.
They don't sleep the night before. They go to the library at 10 p.m. the day before, sleep at the library or study the whole night or do, whatever they want at the library, and then stay up until 6 a.m. in the morning. That's how they get the classes.
Before you watch this, I just want to say that if you're planning to come to United States, you have to crack F1 visa interview, and that is going to be the most important interview of your life because that can change your life. And guess what? Many students get rejected because they don't understand what visa officers are thinking and how are they making that decision. To solve this problem, I made the ultimate F1 visa course with a visa officer who served in Mumbai consulate and Delhi consulate for 5 years. She approved and denied more than 40,000 visas. So she knows and understands how visa officer is thinking, what they think about approving and denying. I'll give you a quick sneak peek. Here's what our course look like, and it is comprehensive. Each sessions are like long. There is DS 160, entirely step-by-step process, preparing what do you have to do day before, day during, what to say, what not to say, what to wear, documents you need to take, what to expect at the interview, what is the successful criteria, if you had refusal, how to overcome that, what are the most common questions, how to answer finance related questions, mock interview, and bonus guides as well. Trust me, this is the most comprehensive F1 visa course that you will ever need to watch. So if you're interested, link is in the description. And now I'll let you enjoy the video. Thank you, Kshitij, for doing this. Really means a lot. I am excited. You are back, and we're gonna talk about ASU. This is gonna be like the most comprehensive video. If anyone wants to like join ASU, this is the video they need to watch. So thank you again for coming back. And before we get started, like maybe let's do a quick intro. You might have not watched our first two
Sure.
part of the
Thank you so
videos.
much for having me, Yudi, once again. It's a pleasure. Today, I just want to preface everything by saying that I'll give you a perspective about ASU. Everyone has a different perspective based on their experience, but I will try to give you a rational, logical, balanced view of how I look at this university and how my experience has been. Uh, I am Kshitij Intro. I have done my bachelor's in computer science from Vellore Institute of Technology. I'm doing my master's at ASU, as you would already know now, in again computer science. I came here in fall of 2022. It's been around close to probably more than a year and a half, and I have some experience on board now, so maybe I am a decent enough person to speak about ASU. But yeah, that's where I'm coming from, and I'm hopefully heading to a full-time job now soon.
And for people who might have not watched our past video, Kshitij has gotten the internship. Are you still working there, or
I
like the
just wrapped
internship is
up on
done?
8th of December.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you're just done. He had internship as a software engineer for Rivian, which is like a big electric vehicle company, huge competitor of Tesla, etc. So yeah, and we're gonna talk about like how he was able to do long-term internship and CPT and fun stuff as well, which ASU typically doesn't allow. So we're gonna get into that. But for now, let's just start at the very beginning. I'm gonna bring you back like 2 years back. So on in third year, middle of third year, probably in your seventh semester, you're like, all right, this is the time I'm gonna go to United States, and that's when you made the decision that you want to go. What's the obviously the things that you started working on after that is going to be your GRE, TOEFL, IELTS, or whatever that is. and your profile building to start the application process. So everyone loves to know what does that look like. Can you give like your brief like GRE TOEFL if you have that, if you
Uh,
even remember?
I do remember that because people ask me. I personally, I want to preface this by saying numbers don't matter to me, honestly. But but it matters to many institutions, and therefore having a good portfolio to show and to be backed by is really important. So I
Mhm.
probably scored 322ish in GRE. TOEFL was around 113, I think. um, Bachelor CGPA, in the end it was 9.01, just close. I was gonna
Mm.
fall off. I was gonna fall off, but I think I managed a 9 pointer in the end. And then my bachelor's life was full of exposure. As I told you, I joined that student community, which changed my life. But I worked always. I was engaged in freelance, whatever work I could find. I would always put myself out there and rub it out.
Did you do any work like a full-time job after your graduation, or did you come directly after
Um,
graduation?
since I didn't have to go to college, I just moved to Bangalore on my own. And then I started working there at a startup. Gave me a full time offer, but technically I was an intern, considered an intern for my university. So I did spend uh, 10, 11, 12 months with that startup, and I worked in Bangalore with them while during the last year of my college at VIT. Um, so that's all the experience I had. Nothing officially graduated from my bachelor's in 2022 and directly came for my master's in fall of 2022. All the experience I had was that one startup, which again helped me a lot because that's how I got my campus job, as I mentioned in the last video.
What you're gonna watch is an amazing story, but before you watch that, I just want to quickly say that all of these story, I compile the key insights from these stories and all the podcasts that I do, and I put this in my free exclusive newsletter community. Every week, more than 16,000 people receive my newsletter, and they love it. And here are some of the examples you can see. This was a podcast on George Mason universities, and you can see how to network and 10% cold emailing, powerful LinkedIn techniques, and so on and so forth. So if you're interested in becoming part of this exclusive newsletter community, absolutely free. Link is in the description, or you can go to udj.com/newsletter. Nice. Okay. So you didn't have any experience. And so when did you start the application process? So when did you give this GRE TOEFL? Do you remember, like from the timeline perspective? Because I think it's important for people to know the timeline as well. So if you're coming in fall, like you came in fall 2022, which is August of 2022, I'm guessing the year before that is when you started the
Yes,
process.
100%. I have people text me, and I'm sure they text you. And let's say if you're coming to in fall, I'm only gonna talk with the perspective of a fall intake in my mind. And fall intake is usually in August. So you probably, let's say if you were to come in August 2024, then you should have applied by December, January 2023, December or 2024 January. And so that's what the timeline is. I often have people text me around May, June, July, with asking for university suggestions, and I think that's not a great approach. You should maybe defer it another year, have a proper plan, take a year of time to prepare everything, come up with good colleges, speak to people, prepare for GRE properly, prepare for IELTS or TOEFL. Just get to know how what get prepare your expectations. Expectations is half of what happiness is. So just there's a whole process. There are tons of things to do, tons of things to uncover, and get to know about. So I just feel sad. I feel very bad for people who are very close to the deadline and are just in a frantic mode of try to grab things left and right.
It might be also like, they graduated and they're like, okay, I like they've been in this weird phase where they haven't thought of it, and then all of a sudden they wake up and they're like, oh, I need to do, and then they're not sure whether they should wait for 1 year, and like why they should wait for 1 year, what are they going to do in that 1 year. So but I agree that they like come prepared, come informed, and start, at least give yourself 1 year. So if you're coming in August 2024, start in August 2023 with your GRE, TOEFL, all the research, etc. By November, December, January, have all of your applications done. You'll start receiving admits, and then ideally by February, March, you want to finalize it and then start the next process, which is
Exactly.
loan
Exactly.
and all of that. And some universities will even give you admits before December. I think NEU, Duke, I think there are some which does. And if they do, you ideally will also have a scholarship, because they want to, for universities, they also want to capture you as a student, right, like that. So because they know that you have other options, and if you are a good candidate, they will like offer you a scholarship, so that way you say yes, so you put the deposit, and then you stick with them. So got it. Okay, so moving from there, you GRE, TOEFL, etc. The time comes of like choosing the list of universities that you want to apply. How did you come up with the list of, obviously you knew very much that you're going to go into computer science, so there was no decision making in that, but at least the decision was like, which universities should I apply to, and then obviously you narrowed down to ASU. We'll get to that, but how did you come up with the list in
That's a
first
great
place?
question, and I think I came up with universities by talking to people. I joined a Discord channel called Indian Student Association. It has like 20,000 people in it, and it had a channel called College Recommendations or something like that. And that probably Discord channel started in 2020 2015 or something, and I just went up the entire history of that Discord thread, and I read everything. I read the whole conversation everyone has ever had, and then after reading so much conversation, there were certain college names that just I remembered them because they came up so often. And after that, I created an Excel sheet, jotted down my priorities such as location, prestige, cost, expense, living expense, weather, things like that, right? Everyone has their own set of priorities. I almost named all of mine. And that's how, and then I split my colleges into a safe, moderate, and ambitious.
Okay, you went to the Discord, you saw the videos, you're like watching, you're doing all this research, you're talking to people, and these people are they in United States, or
I
are they in
think
India?
many of them in United States and a few of them in India.
Okay, and you didn't have consultancy helping you with
Right.
this,
So I
correct?
want to make a point there. I do not believe in consultancies. I may be making a
Hmm.
lot of strong statements and which are highly opinionated. I might be wrong, but I do not believe in consultancies at all, and I don't want to drag them into it, but into this conversation. But I do not believe in them. I 100% did the whole thing on my own. Maybe I could have had better
Hmm.
results with a consultancy, but I think this whole application process is a personal experience. I am going to US. I want control over that decision 100%. That's how I am as a person. If I'm This is going to affect my life in profound ways, in ways I cannot even imagine. So I wanted to have as much information and as much control over that as I could. So that's why I didn't go with consultancies.
Yeah, yeah, and I think consultancy is it's hard to put this in words. It's for the people who don't want to do the hard
You
work,
said it.
right? Like,
You said it.
right?
Yes.
They,
Perfectly put.
it's like, I don't have time to work on my SOP. I don't want to have time to work on my LOR. I don't want to go and do the research to find like which college will be fitting for my profile. So do this work for me, and I'll pay you some money. And that's how they make the money. The hard part sometimes is there's some consultancies will have partnership with universities, and they will recommend you to go there because they make money off of you. That's just the reality, right? Not everyone is going to do that. I don't even know which one does and which one don't, but yeah, I like the way you approached it, that I know where I want to go. I'm doing all my research, so I am confident in the decisions I'm making, so that way there's no regrets. That I like, you learn from that whole process. So, and visa interview, like, again, you if you've done all this, it's such a easy interview process for you when you go for that, because you know why you decided what you decided, versus if someone else is doing all this work. But yeah, let's go back to you coming choosing the universities. You had safe, ambitious, moderate. You created that list. You had list of priorities in terms of cost of living, brand, all of that, and you watch the videos, you talk to people. That's how you came down to the list of this. What, like, do you remember the list? Like, what are
I
those
do,
7 8
100%,
universities?
because uh, I made it on my own. I remember I did UMBC, which was safe. ASU was sort of safe. TAMU was moderate, and then I went. All the others were ambitious. UCLA, UC Berkeley, CMU, Georgia Tech was one, and yeah, I think that was it.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, these are all like very common universities. So yeah, so you chose these, you put them in the buckets, and then you, in the spreadsheet which you are talking about, I'm assuming the priorities are the rows, like, for example, cost of living and brand and this and that, and then each of the universities
Exactly.
is column, and then you gave them, did you give them some scoring mechanism? Or like, yeah, what did you do after, like, if you split them, like, what was the values you were giving to each of them? Was it some form of score, that okay, I'm going to give them this scores, and then based on that I'm going to make a decision if I
Yes,
get admits?
100%. So it was just simple score out of 10, and then eventually the number of factors grew to around 20. Uh, but each factor had a weightage, Maybe let's say weather isn't as important as prestige for some sake. So it was like a weighted average, which I would calculate eventually for the whole row, uh, right, or for the whole column, and then another thing is I wrote remark about. So let's say if I was talking about prestige as a column, I wrote what kind of remarks I'm hearing often about that university. So let's say ASU. I often heard that there is a lot of students, like the class size is very big, so I took notes of certain things. And sometimes numbers are like opaque, they don't convey information in a very deep manner. It's like a concise way of reading information, but to overcome that, I
Mm.
wrote
Mm.
remarks wherever I could, and then that's how I went about it.
What you're going to watch is an amazing story, but before you watch that, I just want to quickly say that all of these story, I compile the key insights from these stories and all the podcasts that I do, and I put this in my free exclusive newsletter community. Every week more than 16,000 people receive my newsletter, and they love it. And here are some of the examples. You can see this was a podcast on George Mason universities, and you can see how to network and 10% cold emailing, powerful LinkedIn techniques, and so on and so forth. So if you're interested in becoming part of this exclusive newsletter community, absolutely free. Link is in the description, or you can go to udj.com/newsletter. Got it. Okay. So you got these 7 8 universities. Now you are waiting for admits. I'm assuming around January to March is when you started receiving the admit. What all
Okay, so
admits
I
did you
think
get?
I got admits from TAMU, ASU, UMBC, and CMU. So I got lucky with only one of my ambitious from the list. So those were the four I had options with.
But again, like UMBC, CMU, like these are good universities. TAMU is also good too. Why ASU then? Like, why did you shortlist ASU? Like, compared to CMU, maybe UMBC, because UMBC is like very research oriented, and you seem like a research oriented guy to me. So like, why did you choose ASU over these
Very good
others?
question. And I did not choose UMBC because I had better options than UMBC. I think UMBC is in Baltimore. They have high crime rate, and university is less
Mm.
prestigious. I'm being very bold. Maybe it is very good. I'm not as do not have as much exposure in that space, but I I made a decision that UMBC is not that good compared to my other admits. So it was probably on the side. Then
Okay.
CMU had a very high fees. It was around, clearly remember, around 90K was the I-20, I think. And ASU's
Hmm.
I-20 was $48,000. So that was one consideration. I had to make a decision there. So having taken a student loan, I was given a student loan for 40 lakhs, which is close to 35, 40, 45K in US dollars, 40, 50K. And then I had an opportunity to take an even bigger loan. So this I hope you're getting, I'm walking you through the thought process that went through my mind. So I had taken a loan of 40 lakhs.
Hmm.
I got both the I-20s, and I saw, okay, one is 100K and one is within my range. So but I still was thinking that CMU is so good that I should probably take a bigger loan and still go for CMU. Then my next steps,
Hmm.
next decisions, or next factors of considerations were that what do I want to do in the future, and how, if I choose one thing or the another, how will that change, or how will that affect my journey to getting to my future or goals. So I decided that I want to be working in a very
Hmm.
good company, and I want to be, I envisioned myself uh, how I would want to be 5 years down the line, and I saw that going to ASU and working hard could land me in the same place as if I were to go to CMU and pay that kind of money.
Hmm.
That's how I made a decision there. Now, if I were to look back, there are certain perks that I missed on because I did not go to CMU. One of them is that there are certain tech companies or tech finance companies or hedge funds that only hire from top 20 colleges. They do not consider people from ASU at all. Even if I apply, when I'm applying to them, there
Hmm.
is no option to select ASU in their college selection question. So I'm straight away rejected. So there is
Mm.
not a
That's interesting because even in their job application, they have that. So that tells how much importance they give to the
100%.
brand of the
That these
university.
are, I'm talking about quant roles,
Yeah.
finance, fintech roles, right? They only hire from top 20 colleges. That doesn't mean no one can get to the company, but it'll be even harder. That's all I'm saying. And maybe
Mm.
the extra 50, 60K maybe could be worth it there, because quant jobs are the highest paying jobs. Hedge funds are insanely high paying jobs, right? So uh, think about it, make a decision. I thought maybe the ASU is the right decision for me, and how I envisioned myself according to the information I had at the time. That's the kind of decision I made, and I'm living by it.
I feel if it's not top 20 or top 10 or top 20, at that point, everything else is like normalized because then at the end, it's just going to be how much hard work are you willing to put in, how valuable you are to the company. And that's what they're going to decide. Not that, oh, you're from ASU or you're from this university or you're from UMBC. It's very rare unless the companies are specifically looking for that. So anyway, so that's how you made the decision. ASU, you are like, all right, done deal, I'm going there. You made that decision. There comes a time where you have to go for F1 visa interview. You are in your F1 visa interview. Where did you do it? And then, well, like, what was what was your experience? Was it pretty much like, oh, ASU, like, here you go, approved, or was it more
Okay, so
grinding?
I did my interview at the Delhi consulate, uh, right? And then I messed up my interview. I could have messed up my interview really bad. There are a few mistakes I've made in my life, and I will for sure talk about them. And one of the biggest mistakes was my interview, and I started jabbering and blabbering whatever came to my mind. The officer asked me, "Okay, hi, morning, how are you doing?" And then he asked me, "How are you arranging your funds?" And I literally started from like 10 years ago, and started telling him how my dad has worked hard and sort of arranged, and I took a loan, and it's fabricating things out of thin air. And then he had to stop me and say, okay, fine, could you just tell me, cut to the chase and tell me how it is. And then, okay, I was like, okay. And then he asked me another question, and I again went blabbering. And then he again had to stop me and tell me, bro, just tell me the damn thing I'm asking you. So that's how bad I was trying to mess it up, but it somehow went through. And when he heard me say ASU, and he just asked me, do you have the funds? And he was like, okay, take it, have fun, have a good day.
Yeah, I think there is some certain things about some universities which are pretty much like if they see that name, they're like, "Can you afford it?" I think, yeah, then just go. But there are some universities which are like kind of sketchy. Like again, like and it depends on university because I went to Chico State. My interview was pretty much, "Oh, you're going to Chico? Like that's a party town," and I'm like, I didn't know that it was a party town. So I was like, maybe. It's like, so you gonna party? I was like, no, I'm not gonna party. Any At that time, I didn't understand the US culture, so I didn't know that he was trying to have fun with me. So I was like, no. He's like, well, go and have a party on my behalf. And I was like, this doesn't seem like a visa interview to me because I was in my head, I was I'm very prepared, like, okay, I'm gonna answer this, I'm gonna answer this. So yeah, so anyway, it's sometimes it's a
Yeah.
officer biases, right? Like they have a decision bias, certain university, and then sometimes it's just some university have the brand value that like, oh, ASU, oh, NYU, oh, CMU, like as long as you can afford it and you're not going to ask government to pay you, I think they're going to be okay. So anyway, so in your case it sounds like
I want to make
yeah,
a
go
point
ahead.
here. I'm so glad you're talking about these things. You're not being, very, what is the word? Uh, you're being transparent. You're talking about how visa officers have biases for certain colleges. You're talking about how consultancies are not as green as they look. So I really appreciate that, right? People don't talk about this. These things need to be put out there. People
Hmm.
need this information.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking of myself like 10 years ago. If I'm watching this, I want to make sure one, like if someone is spending like 30 minutes with us, I want to give them as much value as they can. And two, like like we're not doing it for views. If we would have cut down, and I would told you like, Kshitij, just let's just focus on 10 minutes. I would be like that visa officer, like, bro, just give me the answer, right?
Yeah.
Like, but like we want to provide the value we can. So yeah, I appreciate you calling it out. But okay, so in your case, you got the visa approved. Simple questions: how you funding ASU and things like that. Now visa is approved. From there till flying, when did your visa get approved, and when were you
I
flying?
would say my visa was approved around 2nd of August, and I was flying on 14th. Yeah, it was, I don't know why it was so close.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
COVID. So appointments were not there, right? So
Yes, I
that's
think that was it.
probably why. Yeah. Okay. So what kind of things did you do once you got the admit? I mean, once you knew your visa is done, like, did you do anything in between that time frame? I know we've spoken intensely about preparing the profile, working on projects and all of that because that helps, but like logistically speaking, did you do anything different, or like what did you do
I watched
before you
your
flew?
50 things to get to US, and whatever is expensive, cookers and stationery and
Yeah.
slippers,
Yeah.
combs. So I watched all sorts of videos, came up with a list. That was fun. I like packing, and
Mm.
and not really, but I like at least
Yeah.
liked it back then. So I did all sorts of fun
Mm.
stuff. Split my money into bags.
Mm.
Keep a prescription for my medicine, bring in on my medicine, bring in all the achar and namkeen I could. Yeah, all sorts of fun stuff. Nothing too fancy. And then I did research about
Mm.
what is a good airline, which place to have a stopover at. There are certain airlines like Japan Airlines, where sometimes you have to change airports when there is a layover, which is, I think, if you don't have a
Mm,
transit visa, you can't. So sometimes that can be tricky. So just be aware of those things.
mm,
Uh, it isn't too complex, and I just did these research and um, yes, very good question.
mm.
I wanna talk about my second blunder that I made. I did all of these things, and the one main thing that I had to do was
Mm,
get a housing. And I was like, "Chuck it, I'll just go
mm,
there and find a housing because how bad could it be, you know?" And I was like, I completely ignored housing, which is supposed to be the highest
mm,
priority
mm.
thing. And I don't know what took over me.
Wait, so you're telling me you didn't look for an
No,
accommodation
I
before
had
you
no
flew? So what was the I guess what was the plan? Like what was the plan? Like you were gonna go and stay in hotel or stay with seniors or like what was the plan?
I had one senior, and he's a very good senior, and he made me stay at his home for 2 days. But in fact, he was not at his home, and he's like, "Okay, take my keys, whatever." And I was like, "Okay, that's super cool. I don't have to worry about anything. I have a housing. I'll be fine." And I don't even have words to explain why I was thinking that. And then I got to Arizona, and there was no houses to be found. I had nothing. Everyone was like, "Okay, come a
Yeah.
month later, we'll
Yeah.
have something for you then." And I had no place
Mm,
to stay. I would literally have people, some people were offering temporary housing, so I would try to hoard in there and sleep at my senior's place. And he had his girlfriend coming in, so he's like, "Bro, you need to go out. Sorry, I can't help you anymore." And I was like, "Okay, bro." And then eventually, just due to all that hassle, I had to pay around 1800 for a 1B apartment, 1B apartment. And it was like a smallest 1B you could imagine, probably like 500 square feet. Super small, super
mm,
shady-ish. Not exactly shady, but shady-ish. Um, if I can be candid, people
mm,
call it the druggy apartments. And then I had
mm.
to stay there with three people. So we were three of us living in that 1B, which was super small. Still remember, and this is for one whole year. I had to stay in those living conditions, which I look back and I have fun with it. I'm really proud that I did that. Yeah,
You have
yeah.
a story to tell.
So
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
was this one room which had three beds, and that's it. There was not an inch of space to walk, in our house. No, and then the outside
Mm,
was all
mm,
desks and chairs. That was our whole house. Luckily, I had good
mm,
roommates. By
mm.
whoever's universe,
Mm.
whoever is listening, he graced me with uh, good roommates, and we were really congenial and very understanding. For the most part, everyone has differences, but they were very good roommates, very down to earth, honest people.
And so how did you find these 2 other people? Because, were they also in the same boat as you? Like, "Okay, we'll figure it out," kind of
Pretty
thing?
much, yes. That's how
Okay. Mm.
we,
Mm.
Avengers assemble, and that's how we.
ASU has massive population. As far as I remember, like like I was told 3,000 plus Indian students come every single year, including bachelors and everything. And I was like mind blown by that number. And I was in ASU campus. Unfortunately, you were in California when I
I
was in
think this
ASU.
year
Uh,
ASU has
and we
broken
couldn't.
its old record, and he brought in even more students. That's because they have like five different campuses and
Wow.
thousands of courses, which is a good thing and a bad thing. I think so, in my opinion.
Right. So, okay. So you booked the flights, you are there, didn't have the apartment. I was going to ask you that question later on, but it sounds like you already said the story and then you found the roommates right there. What was your port of entry? Like, was it anything sketchy? Where was the port of entry? Was it in Arizona,
No,
Phoenix, or?
I landed in Dallas, and then I took a
Hmm,
internal
interesting.
domestic flight to Phoenix. I had pretty straightforward, nothing too serious. I've heard a lot of horror stories at every step, visa, checking in, and then service checking in, and there could be horrors at every step. I was blessed, and I sort of, it was quick, nothing too major. They asked me, okay, where are you going? What are you studying? And that's about it.
And so obviously you are at ASU, and first few weeks, I'm assuming you worked on getting an
Yeah.
apartment. That's probably your number one priority at that point. Usually people don't have that, but then you worked on some logistics
Yeah.
things, getting the bank
Yeah.
account and SIM card and all of that. uh, One of the things that when I was in ASU, which I think we should touch on, is getting to book the classes. It's horrible at ASU because you are paying this $50,000 and yet you don't even get to attend the class that you want. And I'm like, when I was there, I was like, why? This seems horrible. Like, so let's explain to the audience, like, how does that work? And then, like, what is the
Sure.
problem at ASU?
See, guys, this is again realistic picture of ASU. There are certain good things. There are horrible things as well. One of the horrible things is class search.
Mm.
Okay, I am in my last semester and I've never gotten a class that I wanted. Because generally people always want easy courses, easy in air quotes. But uh, yeah, I never got whatever I wanted.
And just to track back, for people who probably don't know how it works, so it's like a la carte menu, right? Like you have thousands of courses available for you or disposal. Your department of head will say, hey, here are the courses you can take. Let's say out of your, for master's degree, you have to take 10 subjects. Out of 10, maybe 5 of them are core courses, which means you have to take that, and then 5 of them are electives. And some of them might have prerequisite, etc. So as soon as the semester starts, there's a window where you have to enroll in the courses. It's not a board system which we have in India, where there's a set of courses you have to take because that's how the semester is. You have to go and register for those courses. When that enrollment opens up, everyone, that's what at least I heard from ASU, that everyone is like trying to refresh so they can get into the cars to book it. And people are up like in the morning, early morning, to so that they can like click refresh and book it. And so that is what we are trying to say, is like how hard it is because there's so many
Yeah,
students and not
I've
able to
had
get into the
students
class.
go get up at like 5, if not even 5, 3 in the morning, go to the library at ASU.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second. I am underselling it. They don't sleep the night before. They go to the library at 10 p.m. the day before, sleep at the library or study the whole night or do, whatever they want at the library, and then stay up until 6 a.m. in the morning so that they can connect to the Ethernet or get the closest Wi-Fi to the ASU infrastructure, and that's how they get the classes. I am lazy. I have not done that. Hence, I've never gotten the classes I wanted, and I've taken all the hard courses, gotten my B's or A's or whatever.
Yeah, it is hard because there are so many students and everyone wants to take some courses, and because
Yeah.
everyone wants to get it, it's just going to be first one for, and there's a limit, like not all 500 people are going to get into the class. So there's going to be only maybe 60, 70, 100. I don't know what is the batch size for a
It
class.
usually depends. Certain courses can go up to 200, right? But there are many courses on average 30, 50, 60, 100, 120, 200,
Mm,
250 at times.
mm,
But
mm.
if I were to say an amortized number, 100 or 80, 90, something like that.
On an average, like, yeah, 100 students and everyone is trying to get into it, you can't get into it. So if you don't get, then you have to choose something else because you still need to be enrolled full-time student. So then you choose something which you don't
Yep.
even want to choose. It was just painful when I heard it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. But regardless, I think one of the other good thing, which is the on-campus job scenario, which is first time ever I heard, was that you can get software development jobs, web developer jobs. And I was like, this is awesome because you can get those, and obviously TARA are also there. But also keep in mind there are 3,000 plus students, everyone is going for it. So I know you had on campus job. How did you get it? What was the
Sure.
process behind it?
So yeah, I want to say that I, even with so many people around, everyone I know who wanted a campus job and worked for it got it in my circle. And my circle is decently
Mm,
big. It's a decent enough data set to draw this conclusion. But yeah, everyone I knew has
mm,
a campus job. At least like 6 months down the line, they have one, right? So that's fascinating. I don't know how
mm.
ASU is
Yeah.
pulling it off, but
But again, ASU is such a massive campus, right? Like the whole city, Tempe,
not even
is
just Tempe.
ASU,
It's
and
like
ASU is
across.
Tempe.
It's There is a campus in Phoenix. There is a campus in Mesa. There's a campus in West Bank. Everywhere. They've like five different campuses.
Right. So it's massive, and to run the camp, all these campuses, there are majority of student jobs, like student employee. So there are. I think that is a good thing that there are a lot of employment available. But the good part I love about it is that the jobs you can get
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
can be very closely aligned to the actual job you want to do in your career, which was like, I think, the one when I was on campus, it was like a theater. uh, yeah, so how did you find that job, and what was the process of getting like was there an interview, or did you just, like,
Sure.
yeah, how did you
So
get the job?
I want to take a step back and take you to the time when COVID happened and I went to Bangalore out of the blue, because I had a few friends there, and I stayed there with them, and I worked with a startup, and it was a startup of barely 20 people trying to make it in this crazy market. And there was this founder, right, who was a very close, he became a very close friend of mine, right? And then I worked there for like 10, 11, 12 months, and I had a great bonding with everyone there. And even when I was going to ASU and putting in my resignation there, they was very sad, and we had a wholesome moment there. But then I went to ASU, and
Mm,
I got a email saying you had applied for this software developer job at Decision Theater Lab. And I was like, okay, wow. And then the interviewer asked me for an interview, and then I got on a call with him. He asked me, it was not a complex interview, nothing DSA like, just basics. If you have this, they generally don't want to train people because people keep shuffling in and out. So if you have the skills required and you have proof to back it up, they will probably hire you. So the interviewer asked me for an interview, asked basic questions, nothing too serious. And in the end, he asked me, how did you like your old job? And I was like, okay, I loved it. I loved my old job. People were very helpful. I learned a lot. I learned equivalent to what I learned in my entire bachelor's degree. That's what I told him. And I appreciated everyone in my old job. And then once I said that answer, he told me that he was my founder's roommate in college. So that was the biggest coincidence ever.
mm,
And then he when he
mm.
saw the name of the company in my resume, he called up his roommate, right, my founder, and then my founder, whatever he recommended me, however it was, and then that's how I got the job. Small world experience.
But and so you just found the job online, through
Yes,
Handshake,
I applied on
the
the
portal.
portal and then I got lucky. Those two steps.
So you applied on the portal, and because I'm guessing many people applied, but you somehow got
Yeah.
shortlisted, and then you obviously got the interview, and you crop passed the interview. What is the salary range
It
for those
starts from
positions?
15 to 25. And I want to make 2 points
Mm,
here.
mm,
Uh, I spent around in my whole first year with them at Decision Theater, and they even bumped up my
mm.
salary if you perform well. I made a script for myself that would apply to all the jobs on the campus using Selenium and Python. Then it applied to all the jobs, all 300 jobs, 600 jobs, and I recently made it public. I uploaded it on GitHub, and people have started using me. Get messages every day, and at this point, ASU got notice of it, and they limited to 10 applications a day due to my script. They got annoyed. Yeah. So now
Oh,
it's
wow.
not that useful, but people used it a lot.
That is interesting. Wow. We'll put the link so
Yeah.
people still can use it. And maybe what if they can create the same for UTD or
Yes.
CMU?
100%.
And so you did also get like RATA because of you
Yep.
approaching
Yep. I
professors?
did not go with that because I have had seniors who have gotten their entire tuition fee waived for the semester. The position I got did not have any of those perks. So I wanted to work in a software developer role because that's what I want to do. In fact, I feel that my job at
Hmm.
Decision Theater has landed me all of my internships as well. So that's why I went with Decision Theater.
Nice. Okay, cool. So on campus job is seen as good. Most people get it. But again, like I also don't want to like glorify this because what if, I mean, I know I met at least 15 students while I was on campus and a lot of them didn't get it because now the incoming is so much that everyone is like competitive
100%.
to get the job. And something like this is probably off tangent, but something I feel happens a lot when people land in United States is they become so individualistic that all of a sudden this feelings of like selfishness will come in, insecurity will kick in, and they
Oh,
won't share that they are getting this job or right. So I don't know like if you had those experiences, but my point of telling that is that like yes, Kshitij got the job, yes, you will see that ASU campus, and don't make the decision based on that, like because now the scenes must be a little different. But if you're willing to work hard and smart work, then you will get it. Don't
yep.
rely on
Yep.
people to give you this information. Yeah,
I
so
want to make a point
yeah.
there. I always recommend people if I am not going for a job, I recommend people. I I always
Mm.
even today if I am part of a email thread, the internal decision theater email, and I get to know what positions are hiring, I always publicize it in my circle and send that this position is hiring, apply for it. If you're good enough, they will hire you, right? It's not even like I'm going to the manager and poking them that please hire this guy or anything like that. Just spreading information about a position that is about to get filled. There is a chance of getting hired. Just help out, man. People just we are all here on the same boat. I need to say this, that Indians and all the international students aren't helping each other. Period. We are dragging each other down,
Mm.
and it's a epidemic. I'm using very strong words because it's a unsaid, unspoken elephant in the room, but no one talks about it. Everyone, even I, when I came in, I got jealous. I could see people around me doing better than me, and I got jealous. But that's part of growing up, that's part of maturing, tackling the emotion called jealousy,
Mm.
tackling the emotion called envy, maturing over them, learning how you cannot compare your first chapter with someone's 10th chapter, learning how the only real
Mm.
competition of you is yourself.
Yeah, yeah. No, I well said. I think I've experienced that, and unfortunately, the reality is that you will face this no matter what. So, just be prepared for those experiences because this is something you are not going to experience it when you are in India. You will feel this sense of belongingness. You can just rely on your friends and your brothers and sisters, but as soon as you come here,
Yep.
you will lose that sense of belongingness and the community. Yes, there will be still people around you, but
Yep.
behind the scene, there's still this
Yep.
solo individualism that is happening, and it's just unfortunate fact that will happen. So yeah, anyway, moving on to more technical topic, which is let's talk about cost of living, because ASU, we've talked about what the fees is, so let's kind of break it down: tuition fees, cost of living, and yeah, basically rent, all of that. So
So it's gotten
mm,
pricier. I personally, if I talk about I'll be super transparent. I live in a 1B apartment now. Yeah, you can call me spoiled, but I spent my whole 1 year living with three people in a 1B. So I live in a 1B with my girlfriend now in a 1B. So with two of us, we pay around 1400, and then
Mm,
this is including all the utilities and everything, electricity and stuff, which is fair, 700 a piece
mm,
for a good enough decent space. It's a very spacious apartment. Like usually I have a rule. I do not mind spending on groceries because I'm shy from spending on groceries. 200 on average, even if it goes higher, I don't mind it. I don't eat out. I'm not that. I don't have a tooth for
mm.
junk. I don't know why. I want to. I'm not able to enjoy food like everyone else, and I'm envious of that.
Maybe it doesn't have like that. I don't know what kind of food you like. Maybe it doesn't have the
Maybe
Indian food. So, okay, breaking it down, what was your tuition fees
my
again?
I-20 was 48,000. But if I were to talk about how much I've paid each semester, I would say it is 14 to 15,000 each semester for the first three semesters, and then I just paid my last semester tuition fee. That was around seven. So 45,
Hmm.
750 was the whole tuition.
Right. And then obviously your living situation now is different. Before it was 600 ish
Yeah,
because you guys were living in
yep,
1800, three people, and then another two,
yeah, yeah.
300 for grocery, eating out, whatever. So roughly $1,000. But if you want like a more luxurious lifestyle, it can go from 1,000 to 1,500 ish. But if you are working on campus and get like the software engineer, so you probably make you can cover that cost of living through that job. Is that fair statement?
Yes, yes.
So it's, yeah, I mean, again, it's expensive university. You took a loan, and you also were blessed with the internship. We've talked about how you got the internship extensively in the separate video, so I'll link in the description. But something that you've done is extended that internship for a long period of time, and um, which is like counterintuitive to ASU people. They don't understand. They are like, how is it even possible? So let's talk about that. And that probably helped with paying
100%.
off your loan quicker. I'm getting, yeah. So, and again, you took the loan of $50,000 ish is something. How close are you to paying it off, or have you
No,
already
I'm
paid
not
off?
at all close of to paying it off. I just took the loan disbursement for only tuition fee payments because my campus job covered all my living expenses and my rent. So I never had to take money from anyone to for my living. For tuition fees, since I did not have an internship for the first year, I had to take the disburse the loan and pay 2 years of tuition fee. So probably around 25, 26 lakhs of tuition of loan I've disbursed, which has risen to 29 or 2029 due to the interest. That's the whole magic, compounding magic that goes on. So that's how much that there is due, and I have not yet started paying it back. There are two reasons. One is I paid my all my next semester's tuition fee, whatever I hoarded, grace, just
From your
yeah, or
in
whatever I
internship.
was able to
Yeah.
save up. I paid my tuition fee with it. I just yesterday I paid my last semester's tuition fee. Um, Now I have a loan to pay back. And the second reason I haven't done it is because I want to live my life now. I want to relax a little bit.
Like, I think knowing you, I have a feeling you'll probably have a full time job. In uh, a lot of times, even like a lot of companies give signing bonuses, which is 20,000, $30,000, which you're like, all right, let's let's just. That is what I've seen many people do. I was just doing a podcast with someone who got a job in Google. They did the masters from like UC San Diego, and obviously they had $100,000 loan, but they also had
Hmm.
an internship, etc. But she was saying like how her signing bonus itself like paid off like half of the loan. and she's in a different space than you are. Like she is more into, like, very intense intensity to pay off the loan, because that's the first thing she wants to do, and etc. But let's talk about CPT. Like, how so you got the internship for 3 months for your summer internship, but then you were able to extend that. How did it work, and
Yeah.
like, what did you
This
do?
is, I think, if someone is watching and finds me very boring, this is the part you need to listen to. You can ignore everything else, all my blabber, but this is gonna help you. So to start with, I got an offer from Rivian. Their start date was 30th of May and the end date was 8th of December. So the May to August part was part of the summer semester. So let me talk in very detailed manner here. I There were my internship for the 8 month long co-op, uh, which is, I'm saying co-op, but it wasn't technically, and I'll get into the why of it. But it started in May and ended in December. But the first part of it was from May to August. It was part of the summer semester, and the second part of it was uh, in fall. Is it fall? Yeah, fall fall
Yeah, it is
2023
fall
semester,
semester.
right? So there is a at ASU there is a rule that during fall and spring semesters you have to be full time enrolled. And what full time enrollment means is you need to be enrolled 9 credit hours for a master's program. And 9 credit hours usually means 3 courses, because one course at ASU is around 3 credit hours, right? So that's the rule. Now one would think that how are we supposed to do a 9 credit hour course in college and also do an internship, right? So that there are a few caveats there, right? So uh, I'll go around all the rules that there are. So the number one rule is that you need to be full time enrolled. For the summer semester, you can do whatever you want. There are no limitations. You can go to another state, be in person, be remote. There are no boundings generally. But for spring ongoing semesters, like spring and fall, you have to be enrolled. And I'm talking about SCAI, the School of Computing at ASU, with the Masters in Computer Science program. Every program has a different set of rules, but usually ASU has similar rules for all programs. So if you are listening to this, you'll get a fair idea, but double check with your program as well. So coming back to the main point where being full-time enrolled is compulsory. So now you'll ask me, how did I go about the CPT?
Mm.
So there are certain eligibility criteria that you need to meet in order to be eligible for CPT in a fall or a spring semester. Few of those eligibility criteria are that there needs to be a minimum CGPA requirement. So for in-state and out-of-state, for in-state it is around 3.25, which is if you find an internship within Arizona, which is unlikely, but not impossible. Uh, but if it's an out of state tuition, you need to have 3.5 plus CGPA, which is a quite demanding CGPA. So you need to have very good grades. Like you need to have good grades. No other way about it, right? If you don't have the GPA, you cannot apply for CPT. So always, even in your first 2 semesters, where you're not allowed to do any sort of CPT, make sure you work hard and get a good grade, right? With that in mind, the second condition is in-campus presence is required. That's the term ASU uses a lot, and it's a blanket term. They do not specify or clarify it very deeply. It's a rule, and that's how it's stated, which means that what it actually means is you cannot do a in-person internship during fall or spring, because what they mean to say is that you cannot be working at a job and be attending 3 credit hours of college at the same time. The only way you can achieve that
Mm.
is either growing all 3 online courses, which is not allowed, which isn't, if you go 3 online courses aren't considered as full-time enrollment. They're not campus presence, and they're not counted towards as a normal degree. So online courses are not allowed. So what people generally do is go for three internet hybrid courses, which is close to impossible to get, considering ASU class search scenario. And so the logical and the most optimal way, and something that the academic advisors will agree to, everything is subjective here, right? They will assess your case, they will see how your situation is, and is it possible for you to work out the internship? Do you even deserve to do it? Is your grades good? Second is, are you able, will you be
Hmm.
putting your education as priority? That's the argument they give, which I 100% agree with. uh, they ask you, how are you going to prioritize your education? And how they see it is, only if you are in college and you're fully enrolled,
Hmm.
and you have a good CGPA, only then we can give you the privilege of doing an internship, because you are able to handle all the pressures of college on all the conditions, and you're still able to get good marks. Then we'll give you an offer for internship. So that's all the eligibility criteria, which means your offer letter from the company has to say that it is a remote internship. So for me, it was an in-person internship. So I went to Normal, which is in Illinois, close to Chicago, 3 hours drive from Chicago, and I stayed there in the entire summer. I worked there in person. And for the fall semester, I had to speak with my HR, and I had to speak with my academics advisors. It was a lot of talking and a lot of rules and regulations I had to read up on everything. And then eventually I had to go remote for the fall semester. And I had to do 40
Hmm.
hours of internship with 9 credit hours of course. One disclaimer I want to give here is that it is a very, very hectic thing to do. When people were academic advisors tell you that it is not advised at all, because it will affect your mental health, it will affect your physical health. You will, I am going bald because of the last 6 months I did. So it's not going to be easy. Don't be very well prepared for it. Be mentally hardened. Be accustomed to high stakes, high pressure lifestyle, at least for
Hmm.
6 months. With that being said, um, the lesson of the whole rant that I did is that for spring and fall, you need to have a remote internship.
And even though they have it, they still have to do all of this convincing part still, right? Like it's not like if you have remote
Yeah,
internship, they're gonna be
exactly.
like, okay, cool. You still have to talk through it and like convince them, like, okay, this is not
Yep,
gonna impact my academics. I'm still gonna be able to maintain it and all of that. And once they
yep.
approve it, then your
Exactly.
DSO will give
Even in
you,
the CPT
yeah.
form they give you, they'll ask you for a schedule for day-to-day basis, that what time will you be studying and what time will you be working. What, and then they'll ask you how to justify your why you need to do this, how it aligns with your coursework. You need to do all of that, which I 100% agree with, honestly.
And you did 40 hours or
I did
20
40
hours?
hours. It is possible to do full-time internship. Part-time is sometimes easier to get accepted and approved because it's part-time, right?
Yeah, so that's what I mean, I did my internship also was in summer, then I extended that in next like the fall semester, but instead of on campus 20 hours, I just did that internship for 20 hours, and it was considered one CPD course as well for my master's degree. But it was part-time CPD, so they didn't have really an issue with it. But in your case, obviously it was full-time, so that's why there's a big deal they are making out of this. But the solution is to get to the remote,
Yeah,
convince the
exactly.
company to hopefully give you a remote
I want to
internship
add one more
opportunity.
thing here, that there are certain colleges like TAMU. There are many colleges, in fact, that let you co-op, like as in pause on your education for a bit and then come do your internship full time without any coursework. There are colleges that let you do that. ASU's SCAI School of Computing doesn't let you do that at the moment. They keep things keeps changing. So
Hmm.
at the moment they don't let you do that. Uh, so this is a very important factor that people need to consider while shortlisting their university. And this information is not publicly available generally. Like, it is publicly available, but it's sort of hidden away in Google links, right? So definitely put in the extra effort to go to the ISSC portal of the colleges you're shortlisting and read
Mm.
up on uh, if they're letting you co-op or not. If I were to go back, I would choose a college that lets you co-op, because my life was stressful the last 6 months. So
Mhm.
this is, again, you only learn through experience. I
Mm.
was wrong there, right? People ask me about if we are allowed to do overtime during summer, and uh, that's sort of a gray area. It's not recommended that you do, but you can. And it's, I think, from what, I'm not a legal advisor, but from my experience, it is allowed. B, what I've written down here is that there is a 25-hour per week per year on average rule. What I mean by that is, eventually when you complete your CPT and all your campus jobs and everything, when you apply for OPT, and EAD card and H1B, all of that experience, the officers at USCIS will look at your history, and it is generally recommended that you keep your employment rates or employment hours around or below 25 hours per week per year on average. What that means is, if I did a 40-hour internship for 6 months, then if I do too many more internships and too much of campus jobs also together, and everything together, I keep racking on overtime hours everywhere, then you will get flagged, probably, and then people will question you, how were you prioritizing your education over employment? Because the main criteria here is, on an F1 visa, you are here as a student and you need to prioritize your studies and not just come here to work and just earn money, and then, that's not the main thing. So there is a regulation or a recommendation or a guideline that you need to keep your hours around 25 hours per week on average. With that being said, I did mention that doing campus jobs and internship together. So in the summer, I had my campus job at DT, and I had my summer internship at Rivian. As per the rules, you can do both. You can do your campus job. There are no rules that say that you have to leave your campus job if you're doing a CPT in the summer or in the spring or fall as well. There is no rule. As far as my research go, again, I'm not an advisor. As far as my research go, there I could not find any rule that says that. But I personally discontinued my campus jobs because A, it's impossible to commit yourself 100% to something if have divided attention. B, I don't want to get flagged and sound like I'm not prioritizing my education over campus jobs.
Mm.
This
Mm.
I That's why I made the decision to discontinue, and I think it is a though I would recommend not to do both. For an extra few thousand
Mm.
dollars, don't be risking your future. Moving on,
Mm.
I have another rule to tell you, that do not use you can use 12 months of CPT during your course. So I did 6 months or 8 months co-op, so I've already used 8 months out of my 12 months, right? I cannot do another 6 or 10 month or 8 month co-op, because if I use all my 12 months of CPT, my OPT. So there is this website, and I want to talk about Renegade policy, which is mentioned here. This is the School of Computing and Augmented Intelligence, the SCAI school, which I belong to, Masters in Computer Science. This website has all the CPT information. This is your holy grail. I am not. Whatever I said
Mm.
is nothing in front of this website and in front of the advisors and counselors. So go to this website. It has each detail step by step. Talking about the Renegade policy that I wanted to show you guys. The Renegade policy is that if you get an offer from one company, you cannot keep looking for other offers, because that's sort of a misconduct, where you're if you accept an offer, you can't say yes to another company and then decline the old company. It doesn't look good on the school, and that's another rule I want you all to be aware of. There is a certain concept of IPOS, which is plan of study, right, where you come up with a blueprint of how you will be going through your masters, what course will you be taking, and all of that. So you need to make sure that you put in CPT or internship credits while planning your IPOS, your plan of study initially, because if it's not present in your IPOS, you will not be approved. Your CPT won't be approved because you did not initially plan to do an internship, and then out of a blue or out of a sudden you're trying to bring in an internship. So that's very important. Do not miss out an internship credit. It is an optional. You're just planning your study, so you're not committing to doing an internship. So you just need to put it in there, even if you don't plan on doing an internship. It will just help you, just in case if you wish to do it in the future. One
Hmm.
last thing I want to talk to about is, even doing an internship costs you money. For one credit that I had to do, I had to pay 1,500 for one credit, so I had
Yeah.
to pay
Yeah.
$3,000 to do an internship.
I know we're gonna probably make a separate video on this topic because I think it needs like a separate video itself. There's so much to talk about. But final question before we end today's video is like, is ASU worth it? Like now, if you were to go back in time, would you still choose it, or would you be like, I would probably consider something else?
If I were to very objectively answer, is the ASU worth it? I would say yes, for a certain uh, faction of people. It is worth it. And that certain faction of people has, it's like, let's say if we were to it's let's say if a doll is that faction, it has certain characteristics. And if I were to ballpark what kind of characteristics that faction or that doll has, it would be moderate amount of money, not ultra expensive, but and not super cheap as well. If you have moderate amount of money and you're looking for moderate prestige, if you are looking for moderate kind of a tech market around the city, everything, whatever is coming to my mind is it has decent attributes about everything. And if you are a hardworking skilled person, you should definitely come to ASU, because it will position you in a place where it will propel you into great heights. So, but do not expect, these are here are the people who shouldn't be coming to ASU, in my opinion. That would be, if you do not have the skills as of yet, and you are looking for a college that by its name it's gonna get you a job, that I don't think ASU is the type of college, is the college for that type of people. So there are more characteristics attached to the faction or that doll I'm talking about. So make a honest, rational, very down to earth assessment, self assessment, self critical, self aware assessment of yourself, and decide if ASU is right for you. But as from my perspective, it has worked well for me. Many of the things that I envisioned for myself worked out for me. Certain things that did not, that I already mentioned. Just like me, make a honest self review of yourself and decide if ASU is the right place for you.
And what's the one piece of advice would you give to the students who are thinking about studying
Yes,
abroad?
I love that you asked me this question. Uh, USA is not a fairyland. I watched this. I learned about this concept of donkey immigration, and this movie that SRK has come out with, Donkey or whatever you call it.
Donkey.
Don't
Yeah.
fall for
Yeah.
all that stuff. It's not a fairyland. It's not Disney World here. It's not all rainbows and sunshine. It is as strugglesome, is as hectic, as troublesome as cut to cut, dog eat dog world out here. It'll offer you more opportunities, but you need to be deserving of those opportunities. Don't fall for consultancies that are washing your brain. make a very informed, watch people like you, do you watch other people, gain information, make an informed decision, just make a rational self evaluation, and come up with a decision. And then in the end, do a very self critical assessment of yourself and make a decision for yourself. And do understand that in the end, we are all just a blip in the universe. There is no right and wrong decisions. So just make a decision, run with it, and enjoy the journey.